So I'm not going to lie, this last 18 months, in fact, have been very, very challenging as my work personally has shifted to helping women into leadership positions to helping them navigate away from bullying, defamation, and bad behavior at work. And if you have experienced this type of behavior, I want to assure you that you are not alone. According to statistics, about 60 million people are bullied at work every year. And every time our economy contracts the way it has this year, where there are layoffs, you're doing more than one person's job, and you're feeling more stress and burnout, the situation becomes worse. So today I'm discussing how to handle a bully if you are their latest and greatest target at work. If you're new to my channel, hi, welcome. My name is Kristen. I'm a former attorney and 25-year veteran hiring manager turned executive career coach. I help mid to senior level corporate women get promoted and transition into work they love. So before we get into the tactical, I have to say this. This is advice. It is not gospel. Your tormentor is unique to you. So if there's anything that I share where you think it is unrealistic, it feels unsafe, you don't think you're able to take action because of financial implications or even physical altercations, then please disregard this. Only you know whether or not it is worth engaging with this individual or if you should go straight to HR or straight to an attorney. And if you are like me, you may have a very ingrained and strong sense of justice, and you realize that because this is happening to you, it's probably happening to other people, and you want to shut that down. And I absolutely admire you for that. But I do want to press upon you, karma does not need to come in the form of you. Not if it feels unsafe, not if it jeopardizes your job, not if it jeopardizes you financially. Karma's real. You don't have to be responsible for it. One of the tactics I use when I don't have a lot of clarity as to what my next step should be, but I know something needs to be done, is I will sit and I will meditate and I will go into a quiet, reflective state. And when I get into that state, I will ask the question, what should my next move be? What action should I take? What is the right thing in this situation? Whatever it is that I'm dealing with. And when I receive that answer, if I'm still feeling anxious or unclear, the next question that I ask is this my conditioning? And the reason I do this is because so often society impresses on us what we should do, and it makes it hard to hear our inner voice as to what our spirit is calling us to do or what we're being called to do from a soul level. So I want to share that tactic with you if you find it helpful. If you're feeling confused about what your next step should be in a difficult situation, please feel free to utilize that. And I share that because I hope it's helpful. So tactics. So in my personal experience, there are two ways in which to handle a bully. One is to confront them head on, and one is to not react at all. So let me take these one at a time. So if you are to confront the person head on, the best way to do that in my experience is with the least amount of emotion possible. So let's say, for example, someone is new to your organization and they tell an off-color joke. The way I would handle that is I would say, I'm sorry, Carl, what did you say? And ask him to repeat that, because I'm putting him on notice and on guard just by asking him to reiterate what he stated previously. And then by saying something like, I don't understand or I don't get it, it implies that that was not funny. And that is not acceptable as well. Now, obviously, if you use these types of tactics, there's going to be power dynamics and power struggles, and you might not feel comfortable confronting this person. The one thing I want you to also watch out for in a situation like this, and you might have heard of this acronym, but is something called DARVO. So a lot of times people who are tormentors, they have a lot of experience doing this, and they will walk right up to the line without crossing over it. And then when you call them out, either in person or with HR, they will deflect the facts. So DARVO stands for deny, attack, and reverse the victim with the offender. You might have seen this happen before. There are celebrities who do this for a living, but it is good to know this so that you can call the person out on their behavior and say that's a DARVO tactic and that's not acceptable here, or you can let HR know what they're doing as well. The other thing that I want to say is that retaliation of any kind, whether this is a whistleblower or it's any type of discrimination, is absolutely illegal. but that doesn't mean that people won't do it. So years ago, I was at a company and I was asked to work with someone who had physically assaulted me previously. I said no, and my skip level insisted. We went back and forth for rounds and rounds until I finally hired an attorney, and I went to the vice president of HR and let them know about the situation. That ended that issue, but less than a week later, there was a notice in my file about behavior regarding another situation. So I was so emotional about everything, I did not call this woman out on her retaliation, but just to give you a hint about what might happen in the future, it could happen in the future. So it did, though, in that situation, alleviate a physical threat from my life, and the note in my file was mild compared to what I had been enduring previously. So the other option I mentioned is to not react at all. And I want to give you a few examples as to what you can do in these types of situations, depending on how egregious the behavior of the other person is. So my first job out of college, there was a confrontation one day. I happened to be in the mailroom where the photocopier was. I'm going to change the names of these people to protect their identity. So the woman was named Celeste, and she had an assistant named Sam. And so Sam was at the photocopier making copies, and Celeste walked in screaming and swearing at him, just really out of the blue for those of us who were witness to this episode. She started yelling and F-bomb, blah, 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 blah. How could you do this? And Sam, this was literally a masterclass into how to take down a bully. He just stood there, grounded his energy, and he just said, I don't know. And then she went on another Tasmanian devil rant, swearing, screaming, accusations, more. How could you let this happen? And again, I don't know. Quietly, softly, but very firmly. And this went on probably 6 rounds, her just screaming and dropping the F-bomb repeatedly, and him just grounded in his energy and stating, I don't know. And she finally stormed off. It was absolutely the way to handle her, because she did not do that to him again. She did it to other people because that was in her nature. But as far as Sam was concerned, that really ended the bad behavior once and for all. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I could have done that back in the day. I could not, and I don't know that I could even today. Like I said, it's really kind of like the Buddhist level, on high, a type of groundedness. But if you do have the ability to really lock and load your energy and really just don't back down, but say it very softly. It's kind of that, say it softly and carry a big stick type of mentality. It can work wonders as far as shutting the person down and letting them know that you are not their huckleberry. And one thing I think it's really important to say and understand about these types of personalities, and I don't share this to cultivate empathy for them, but in human behavior, this is one of the most important lessons I've ever learned. We're always either acting out of love or we are acting out of fear. And I know it sounds kind of weird to talk about love in a corporate workplace, but let's think about it. The derivatives of love are happiness, their joy, their fulfillment, their excitement, whatever it happens to be that lights you up and makes you feel connected to your work. And conversely, fear, we've seen that bad behavior. It can be the yelling, the bullying, the defamation. It can be gossiping. It can be microaggressions. It can be any of those types of things. But what that is showing us is that person is, in a sense, very deeply wounded, and they fear they're not enough. Either they're not smart enough, or they don't have the skills to really do their job, or maybe they are micromanaging you because they're unsure about, the future, and the uncertainty is creating a lot of anxiety in their being. And the reason I'm sharing this is not so that we feel sorry for these individuals, but I want you to understand that when you are the target of this type of behavior, it is not personal to you. So if this can help create some space, and I know it feels so personal and it feels so heated when it is happening. I've definitely been in that position, but really think about it. This person is acting out of fear. This has nothing to do with me. They don't know me well enough for them to put that upon me. And hopefully that just can give you the pause you need to exhale. Okay. Second way in which we can handle the bully and not react is just leave. And I want to share this tactic that was shared with me years ago when I was actually taking a class on romantic relationships. And this is from Dr. Pat Allen, who is just absolutely brilliant. But If you are in an in-person meeting or you're on a Zoom call, and it does not matter how awkward this might seem at the moment, if you feel yourself getting emotional, and I'm definitely one of the individuals that falls into this camp, and you know, either want to yell or cry, or you can feel this response coming up and you just don't want to give the other person satisfaction, what you do in that situation is just very calmly and collectively get up and say, excuse me, I need to use the ladies' room, or I need to use the bathroom, and then just leave the situation and then go, and you can either recompose and come back. Or if it was behavior that is just completely unprofessional and unwarranted, you don't even have to come back, and you can just, you know, regroup in an email and say, when you are ready to calmly discuss, or when you are ready to re-engage with regard to this project or the data or whatever it is, you know, we can reschedule. I wouldn't even get into the details of their behavior, because then a lot of times they can darvo the behavior and say, well, you left the meeting and blah, blah, blah. Don't give them the satisfaction. In my professional experience, this works wonderfully because only a crazy person is going to follow you into the bathroom, or in my personal experience, a 7-year-old. And then finally, if this type of bullying comes in written form, in a Slack or an email, my girlfriend Tara and I like to call these nastygrams. If you get these microaggressions showing up in writing, I would check the rules with regard to responding. So one of the things that used to happen at, again, one of my older jobs, is I worked with a lot of lawyers who were clients, and they were not always emotionally astute, shall we say. So when I would get one of these nastygrams, we had a rule that we had to follow up with any email within a 24-hour window. So rather than engage immediately, one of two things I would do, I would wait 23 hours and 50 minutes, and then I would send them a very, succinct, summarizing, very short response to whatever they had asked. The other thing I would do in these situations is I would wait, and then I would call them. I would change the medium. Because if someone is it's kind of like a car, right? The internet, where we feel like we have a certain amount of anonymity and we can behave badly because we are moving quickly and we have these four walls around us. The internet is the same way. But when you get on the phone with somebody, one, people don't want to get on the phone, and two, it makes them a lot nicer than they would be over email. So I would often call someone if I needed to, just to clarify anything. It's much easier to clarify something when you're having a discussion versus if it's in writing as well. Now, obviously, if this type of behavior escalates, you are going to want to start with HR. And so my recommendation is the very first moment you feel anything that is just ick, I want you to start documenting. I want you to have a timeline. I want you to document every meeting, who was present, what was said. I want you to screenshot everything. I want you to save every email, every Slack communication. I want you to start recording Zoom calls and have as much evidence as possible at your fingertips. And do not save this just to your work computer. It needs to be off-site as well. So send it to a Dropbox, send it to a personal email, because these things, believe me, I have lived long enough to know, have a way of disappearing. As the economy has contracted in the last 18 months, I have seen HR not be as responsive as they used to be to these types of situations where they say they'll start an investigation and they don't. They'll say they're going to look into something and get back to you and they don't. Or I'll use legal language that I've used in the past to get a response, and it's not getting a response. Language such as constructive discharge, which in the state of California is actionable, and it means that the circumstances have become so egregious that the individual is not available or are able to do their job because of them. If this is happening to you where you're not getting action out of HR, you might want to see an attorney. Or if it is discrimination that is illegal, think discrimination based on race, religion, color, sex, and by sex, I mean gender identity, sexual orientation or pregnancy, or national origin status. Any of that, you can file a complaint with the EEOC. And I have had some clients that have successfully taken cases forward with them. If it's something that you emotionally are prepared to do, I don't want to say that that is an easy road. There's a lot of emotional energy that needs to be expended when you file a case, but it's absolutely worth it to shut someone down who is doing this to you and inevitably is going to do this to other people as well. But I do want to be honest and make sure that you're aware of all that entails too. Wow, that was not a fun conversation, was it? But I've just been receiving so many inquiries, and there's been so much, in my opinion, injustice in this moment at the workplace that I thought that this was really worth addressing. So I'm not going to ask you if you like this video, but I'm hoping you did find this video helpful. And if there are any tactics that you have used to shut down bad behavior, I would love to hear them. Or if you've used these tactics and it's worked, or it's not worked, or it's worked with tweaks, that would be helpful to this community as well. So please share that in the comments. And if you think somebody else could benefit from this information, please give it a thumbs up and share and subscribe. I come out with new videos each week. And until then, take care.